Hello, Zach. We're recording.
We are. Tom,
Yeah,
I want to talk about a gift I received recently.
that's great. I would love to hear about that. And so would Ian, who is on this video, who is at the YouTube channel Random Internet Guy.
Yes, that's the only one. He has no other channels.
That's
It's
correct.
just that
It's
one.
just that one.
There are not two other
There
channels
aren't
also
any
owned
other
by
channels that
a
Ian is
human being.
on that you should go
Yes.
and find.
Ian, our dear friend who I've met in person and has told me many things about his YouTubing career, only has the Random Internet Guy channel
That's
and none
correct.
other.
That's the only
Uh,
one. That's the only one. And Ian, this is an okay opening bit question mark?
Sure. I guess I was gonna say, Zach, do I have two other channels other than Random Internet Guy? Is that true? I didn't remember that, but
No, I wouldn't know because I only am aware of the one. So if there are two different channels, that would be shocking, actually.
That's correct.
well, I'm aware of at least one other one, and that's the Man of Many Cats YouTube channel. You should go to,
What?
and you should.
Oh, are we not supposed to? Are we not supposed to out the one where you do AMVs? Is that
Oh,
secret?
that's right. Okay, yes. Okay, I'm sorry. If you want to watch just weird shit that I put together in like AI song creators or AMVs, you can also go to Sex Shomaru, like Sashomaru from Inuyasha, but with sex. Is that, am I allowed to say that in the first 5 minutes?
I
Is
think you
that
can say sex in the first 5 minutes.
I
You
just didn't know
definitely
what the
can't say
harshness
sex 3 times in the first 5 minutes.
I didn't know what the harshness was of the rules, but
Really,
you
you
can
really
watch,
harshness vibe.
you can watch the weird stuff I make there. But I'd prefer if you go to A Man of Many Cats. The video is much better.
I have a cover album coming out on the 1 year anniversary of Rinkaria, my album of originals. It's the Cafe on Campus. It is covers of songs that were somewhat an inspiration to Rinkaria. And it is 18 songs from these different artists you can see below. And I'm also announcing a contest to all of our listeners. If you correctly guess every song on this album, I will send you a prize. I will mail you a prize if you are the first person to correctly guess every single song on this album. I think I'm going to do this every time I do a cover album. So please, if you want some hints, please go subscribe to Deterra LaCroix on YouTube. It'll be in the description. I've released a couple of these songs already, so it's really easy to guess those ones because we already know which TV Girl and which Daft Punk song it is and a couple of the other ones. So if you want to know what songs are on there already and you want to hear the album when it comes out, please subscribe over there. And it'll also be out on Spotify and every other place you can listen to music. I've had a lot of fun making it, and I think you will enjoy it as well.
Fantastic. I'm really excited. I'm excited for the album. I know what sort of music you put together. And I'm also excited to have another producer credit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ian,
Yes.
I understand that you have a theory for us.
You understand wrongly. I'm very sorry. I have nothing.
No.
No, I kid. I am worried that this is maybe known, so hopefully you guys don't already like know this one. I just had a thought when I saw this quote the other day, and so I thought maybe in fact this could be a theory.
All right. So our opening quote here is Daenerys. Hang on. What's my Davos voice? Daenerys. No. Daenerys. Daenerys. Davos said. She was named for the Daenerys who was wed to the Prince of Dorne during the reign of Daeron II. I don't know what became of her.
That's your like ProZD doing like his old boss voice.
Davos in White Harbor, you said?
Yeah, I believe that's Davos in White Harbor.
What if Davos was meant to be like a bad Jerry Lewis impression, and nobody's done the voice right yet?
Wow. All right, now in the comments below, tell me who that joke was for.
Someone's cracking up right now and doing it themselves.
That sure is somebody's
I don't know if I
joke.
can do a good Daenerys.
Daenerys.
She was named for the one who wed the Prince of Dawn during the reign of Daeron. This is a terrible Jerry Lewis impression.
I was gonna say who plays the parrot in
Gilbert Gottfried.
That's what I was going for.
Now that would be a pretty fun Davos right there.
I saw Gilbert live before he passed. He's incredible. He can do that voice for fucking forever.
Can we get Davos? Can we get Davos Christoph Waltz, please, Zach?
Daenerys, she was named for the Daenerys who led the Prince of Dawn during the reign of Daran II. I don't know what became of her.
All right,
Sorry
Ian,
to all of our German viewers.
Ian, can I please get Davos Christopher Walken? Thank you.
Okay, I was literally asking the same thing. I can't do a Christopher Walken. Can you do a Christopher Walken?
Yeah.
Great
Tom does a great Christopher
Oh
Walken.
yeah,
Yes.
it's like you just throw it in with the wow. I cannot help but notice that this is Daenerys. She was named for the Daenerys who wed the Prince of Dawn during the reign of Daeron II. I don't know what became of her.
That was perfect.
I had this magic sword up my ass for 4 years.
I wore your mom's crown up my ass.
Oh my god.
I've had Rob's will up my ass since 2011.
That's why it's taking so long for George to finish the books. All the important plot MacGuffins are in Christopher Walken's ass.
Wow.
And he's yet to introduce Christopher Walken to the story yet.
Wow.
That's why the show had to get in a different direction. They couldn't afford Christopher Walken.
I've had this black candle up my ass.
Oh god.
In the comments below, tell me who that joke's for. And the answer is Christopher Walken.
I was gonna say in the comments below, tell us what's hiding in Christopher Walken's ass. Is it dragon's eggs? Is it Valerian steel rods? Is it suits of plate armor? What's up there?
There's now 2 mysteries being solved in the comment section, and we haven't even got to the theory yet.
Yeah. All right. So this is about Daenerys, who was named for the Daenerys who wed the Prince of Dorne during the reign of Daeron II. I don't know what became of her. However, I do know some things about the first Princess Daenerys.
All right.
Daenerys was the person for whom the water gardens were built.
Okay.
If I recall my lore correctly, and she had this wonderful quote from, I think, Doran, who says she noticed that when all the kids were playing in the pool, she couldn't tell who was highborn and who was lowborn. Which is just a really beautiful sentence, and one of the most.
There's aspects of this that I think are brushing up against where I'm going here, and so I want to say you're getting right next to the right territory, but I honestly did not include that particular section or quote. So I would say you're swimming in the right waters.
All right, so it's not Mira's theory that Dany's the green-haired girl in Doran. So
no, that's an interesting one, but yeah, we're not there. We're not there.
I'd like to whole shot the theory, please, Ian.
Go for it.
I think that you will find that Daenerys the First is Quaithe.
I don't know how you did it, but you no, I'm just kidding. No, that's not it either.
Fucking incredible.
All right, is Davos relevant?
I mean, I can't say he certainly pops up a couple times in my quote picking, but I can't speak to how relevant Davos personally is.
Would we be barking in the correct direction if we kept talking about Davos's experiences in the 5th book, which is perhaps my favorite, like top 3 sections of any books?
Yeah, I believe you would be able to hit something. Just trying to look over my quotes here. But it wouldn't be. I would say it wouldn't be Davos in the 5th book. It would be current back a couple books.
Ooh, okay. Davos back a couple books.
And Davos might be might be hanging out next to some talk that might be relevant.
Some relevant Daenerys talk, you say? Relevant Daenerys talk. She doesn't really come up in Stannis's chapters very much, right? The Stannis Davos plot,
so think maybe
Stannis doesn't give as
maybe
much
not relevant to Daenerys talk, but maybe talk that's relevant to this quote. Kind of.
So the thing that immediately comes to mind, and maybe I'm wrong about this, is Stannis has said if he is to die, that I'm completely Shireen should be put on the throne instead. If I die, you will fight for Shireen in my stead. So does it have to do with women inheriting or women conquering the throne? Because that's immediately where my mind went.
It has to do with the throne, but it doesn't necessarily have to do with anybody being a woman one way or another. People involved are women because women are often, part of marriage alliances and stuff, but it doesn't really specifically have to do with necessarily them being a woman.
I really liked the way that was phrased. It does involve women because women are in the story.
I don't want to give too much away, so I'm trying to be good.
There are. I don't know if you guys knew this. Some of the characters in this story are women. I don't know if.
Yeah, I mean, women exist in the world of Ice and Fire. I don't want to say much more than that.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, this is interesting. Is this like a real theory? Is this a good one?
It's a real theory. It's one that this quote just kind of made me do. And that's why it could easily be a well-known one that I just simply had not encountered. Because I'm a little bit out of touch. But
okay, I think that we're dialing in on the wrong part of this quote, Zach. I think that we should be dialing in on that last sentence. I don't know what became of her.
Oh, ooh, that's a good point.
Ooh.
Because we talked about this, especially like even in our Red Door video that everybody loves and adores, and we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
The details around Dany are like not super duper well known to just the general populace of Westeros, including some of the lords. So, obviously Robert believes that the Dany that is out there is indeed, Daenerys Targaryen, child of the Mad King. But that might not be super common knowledge, and we don't seem to get a ton of that. I believe when Ned hears that Robert wants to assassinate Dany, he's like, "Oh, yeah, I guess there's Targaryens out there." I don't think that something was simmering in his head as much, and he, of all people, should know that. He should know there's Targaryens out there. He's raising one.
Damn.
So unfortunately, you might be sailing into colder waters, but I would say that if you're thinking about potentially lost claimants to the throne or Dany not being Dany or people over across the narrow sea, while you might not be thinking in the right direction, you might be thinking near people who might help you.
Okay, Barristan.
What about Barristan?
Does Barristan help me?
But how would Barristan help you?
Barristan loves to reminisce about times around the tourney of Harrenhal, right? He loves to sit there and ponder about a Sharadane and what he could have done differently.
Do people around Barristan like to reminisce?
Oh my god, yeah, absolutely. Jorah loves reminiscing.
Okay.
This is one of Jorah's favorite things. He loves reminiscing about the wife who looks weirdly like Daenerys.
Who else reminisces around Barristan?
You think I can't do this? I can keep going, motherfucker. Yeah. I can keep going.
I mean, Dany reminisces a lot too. She remembers where she came from. That's the whole part of the Quaithe thing to her is to never forget where she comes from.
Yeah, don't ever go backwards or whatever.
I like this reminiscing train. We're on the right idea in terms of people who think a lot and think about the past a lot, but we're just not talking about the right people.
Okay, no problem.
They do know Barristan. They do know Barristan.
They know, but they're not around Barristan right now.
No, they're not.
Okay. You know who freaking adores reminiscing is Robert. He loves doing that shit.
Ooh, we're getting real close, but we're not.
Perfect.
We're on the wrong side of Joffrey's tunic.
Oh, I understand. Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm still not there.
Cersei loves reminiscing. And so does Jaime.
Who looks like Cersei?
Jaime loves reminiscing.
Yes, okay.
Jaime loves reminiscing.
He does reminiscing. Does he ever think about anybody, maybe who helped bring him up? Who helped?
Oh, Rhaegar all the time.
Okay,
that's true.
Close.
He also thinks about Arthur Dayne.
Okay, we're in the right pool. I'm gonna give you the ding on this one because Jaime thinks about his brothers a lot, right? He thinks a lot about the past and his brothers, and he says this at one point. And I think that this helps us build up our picture a little bit more. It's a long one. This is kind of one I thought would come way later, but we got here sooner than I predicted. So we're kind of far from where I thought we'd be, but we found something.
Sometimes it happens this way.
Yep.
It's good. It makes me think that maybe this isn't like the most popular of ideas that everybody already thinks and believes in.
Turn off notifications from Dolby Access. My God.
Dolby.
Who's Dolby? Yeah.
Dolby gave Dolby a song.
Yeah. Dolby, hardly know her. No, like
what?
I'm gonna read this quote because I see it in the chat here, and Tom can't alt tab.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I'll shoot it over to Tom.
That's great because I can read it really fast, and Tom can get mad at me. That's the whole bit we do here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's why people watch this show.
Here's the quote.
Yeah,
Tom.
I'm ready.
You can finish the finish the one you're. Oh, sorry. No, wait. No. I learned from Prince Lewin of Dorne, and Sir Oswald Went, and Sir Jonathan Derry. Good men, every one.
And they are good men, every one. But one of them maybe stands out a little more than the others, maybe?
Well, yeah, one of them is notably Prince of Dorne, Lewin of Dorne.
Oh, yeah, we got some
Only
Dorne.
one L on Prince Lewin.
We got some Dorne, and I think that Dorne might be one of the unifying elements about what's going on here.
Jonathan, is his name really Jonathan?
Jonathor. His name is Jonathor Derry.
Jonathor?
And Derry has an A, not an E. People are gonna get pedantic.
Jonathor Derry.
Sorry. And how do you spell Lewin?
With only one L.
Perfect.
So I mean, like,
spelled Derry. That is Dre.
Do you guys got any comments about Dorne?
Dorne is a place. Dorne is interesting because I was thinking I've been thinking about Dorne recently because I was thinking about the Dunk and Egg stuff. It's interesting that we know for sure during the Great Spring Sickness that Dorne is unaffected, which means that the mountains and like isolation must have in some way kept it from.
Okay, isolation. I like that. Keep talking about how Dorne is a little bit,
it's culturally isolated in a way that like only like there's a couple other places. The Iron Islands are like isolated, but they're an island that is very distant. You could say the north, like you have to get through the neck, but it's not like impossible. It's just difficult. The thing that really makes parts of the north harder is the swamps you have to go through, and then like the cold once you get like up towards the wall. Skagos is isolated, but Dorne is isolated a different way.
Is there anything
it's loved right onto the continent? You have to get through the mountain passes.
And because of this kind of this traditional Dornish separation from the main parts of the mainland or whatever, the Greenlands and stuff. Is there anything kind of special about Dorne that hung around, carried over?
Oh yeah, the princedom, right?
Okay.
Yeah, they have a fully different system of government than the rest of Westeros does, which includes female inheritance and like the prince and princess stylings and such.
Yeah, they're allowed to keep their titles that others
they're allowed to keep their established titles.
I'll toss one more
sponsor today's video.
I'll toss one more quote at you from Arya Hota and Feast. Dorne has a prince, and Arya says that when Doran talks, he says that Dorne must be reminded that it still has a prince. He smiled wanly, old and gouty though he is. So Dorne seems to have a bit of a different power balance relationship, not only with their own ruler, but also like in Westeros, right? There's kind of not only do the people in Dorne have a bit more push-pull against the government, but also Dorne has a bit of push-pull against the Seven Kingdoms, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And I would say, like, if that brings up any thoughts for you guys, I would maybe talk on those thoughts.
So, like, why? Okay. Why do I care? Dorne has a different. Well, it would be advantageous for Daenerys to land in Dorne.
Okay, that's actually
Yeah.
that. I think that's a ding too. Hang on one second. I could have
Yeah.
sworn I got a quote from that.
This is something that I've thought up quite a bit. That Arianne and Daenerys could have a very sound alliance if they
Okay.
went that way.
So okay, so here's the quote I will give you for that because that is a ding.
Nice.
Griff says this, or sorry, Tyrion says this shit to Griff.
Okay. I'm ready. I'm excited.
So I sent you the quote. You can
let me
punch it
see.
out.
Send it.
Unless
Can you send it in chat here?
I'll put it in the
That
chat
way-
and Zach can read it. Here
Yes,
you go.
I'll read it out.
Like Ian, if you just want to hit me with it, you are more than welcome to.
Yeah, if I were you, I would go west instead of east. The land in Dorne. Sorry, I'll give you some time.
West.
Land in Dorne and raise my banners. The Seven Kingdoms will never be more ripe for conquest than they are right now.
So Dorne's like kind of important. It's got some unique, fun stuff going on, and it seems to be like there's definitely this Targaryen Dorne connection, right?
Tyrion to young Gritty.
The young gritty, yeah.
Matt, here's something interesting. Since we started this podcast deck,
Yeah.
my typing speed has gotten way better.
When you put people on the spot, it tends to happen, right?
Especially when you put them on the spot consistently for 2 years.
Yeah, like I feel like if we threw you into like a sports training camp or sport you're not that good at, you wouldn't be pro level, but by like being put into like the scenarios that pros have to play, you'd be better than most.
Yeah.
And I'm throwing you at like pro level typing speed for 2 years.
All right. Seven
So
Kingdoms will
yes,
never be more ripe
what
for
talk
conquest.
more about Dorne and the Targaryens and all that sort of stuff is what I would say. We got some stuff going on, right?
Dorne is there's a lovely lovely series of quotes about Dorne that compare them directly to the North in The World of Ice and Fire that I like a lot. Says Dorne and the North have more in common with each other, despite their distance, than they do with any of the things in between. They are both isolated, they're both firmly entrenched in their own cultures, and they were never really conquered by the Targaryens.
Ah, okay. So I like that last part
Yeah.
because I think that's a pretty important thing. So I will give you I will give you a little bit of a ding for that one if you can tell me like some kind of story about how Dorne is hard to conquer.
The young dragon gets his ass handed to him. Oris Baratheon
Yeah,
gets his
no,
ass handed to him.
that's 100%. I was literally thinking of the young dragon.
Let's go.
So, yeah, no, you're on a roll. You're on a roll here. You're punching right into the kind of what I wanted to talk about Dorne. And so what I'll say is when the young dragon conquered Dorne so long ago, he left the Lord of Highgarden to rule after the submission of Sunspear. This Tyrell moved with his tail from keep to keep, chasing rebels and making certain that our knees stayed bent. And this is like Martell telling Tyrion in the Storm of Swords, I believe. And I think it illustrates that it's kind of hard to suppress Dorne. You know, it's very difficult if you want to integrate Dorne into the kingdom, and if you want to, you know, kind of get the Seven Kingdoms to be one whole, and maybe even if you thought about, you know, favoring the Dornish to some extent, you would need to be marrying and integrating that way rather than trying to conquer them because it's just not going to fucking work out, right?
And who is that a quote from?
I believe it's Martell.
Is that Arianne?
Talking to Tyrion. I thought.
Man, that's pretty cool.
It might be. It might be a different one. I don't know. I grabbed a couple of them out of the books really fast, so I might have.
No, that's Tyrion, yeah.
Which books came from which, but
I think that's yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a Storm of Swords quote from Tyrion, being talked to by Martell.
Oh, that's Oberyn.
Yeah, Oberyn Martell.
To Tyrion. Yeah. Okay. Ooh, interesting. Very interesting. So still has a prince. Dorne must be reminded that it still has a prince. I swear to God, if this is an N plus A equals J backdoor theory, I'm gonna scream my head off.
No. It's definitely not. It's definitely not. But I would say that
Dorne must be reminded that it still
why,
has a prince and his name is
why,
Jon.
why does Dorne need to be reminded it has a prince? What about Dorne? Like why does that happen? Is just like, you know, what's going on with Dorne?
Is there like Dornish independence movement that's secretly being crafted up in spite of everything that Doran Martell is planning with like Targaryen nonsense?
Yes,
He's got a secret secondary Dornish independence plot that he hasn't revealed yet.
I think you're onto something. I think that the books heavily imply that that Dorne has a problem with like civil stability. That just like anywhere else, people are sometimes looking to be uppity. And so I'll give you I'll give you guys a ding for that quote.
Ooh, nice.
Or for that idea. Dorne was an angry and divided land, and Prince Doran's hold was not as firm as it might be. Many of his own lords thought him weak and would have welcomed open war with the Lannisters and the Boy King on the Iron Throne. So Dorne's this is again like we're kind of trying to build a picture of Dorne. Like Dorne's hard to control. Dorne's uppity. If you're the Targaryens, you're not going to conquer it. You're going to have to marry into it.
Look, I'm not sure how fast you think I can type here.
Usually,
okay, I said the thing. I said the thing. I say.
Oh, hang on. Let me send it to you. I thought I yeah, I did send it to you.
No, just read it slower.
Oh, okay. Where are you at? I can't see the screen that well.
Dorne was angry and divided, and many of his own lords would have welcomed what?
Open war with the Lannisters and the Boy King on the Iron Throne.
Okay.
That's from Hota, I believe.
Okay, please continue.
Tom hassling me to read quotes.
So
look, you just went so fast onto the next one.
I do the thing here that like immediately popped into my head here is the house words of House Martell, because we have in that Auburn quote he says that our knees stay bent, and it's unbent, unbroken, unbowed is the order of it. That it seems like they have like a almost sort of like Rocky Balboa, it's how hard you get hit and keep going mentality there. That's really like gonna shift them towards independence or rebellion, or that they just genuinely are always. It's people talk about in French history. I don't think this is true, but it's like a pop history thing that the French are more distrustful of their government because they, we've had like 8 revolutions. What's one more? Is sort of like the idea, and maybe that's like part of the fabric of Dorne's like identity is, hey, if we don't like this government, we'll just get angry and fight them, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's very true. That's kind of what I think by putting up that previous quote. But I would say I would give you points if you would talk about a little bit more than just the other houses inside of Dorne. What about the lead house of Dorne? Do they ever get a little bit wild, thinking that maybe they should, be independent?
Yeah, absolutely. Arianne has an entire freaking assassination plot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, who else? And who else? Can keep going.
The Sand Snakes are doing some shit.
That's very true. Very true. So this seems to be something that kind of is, like popular, and like I would say that probably the Sand Snake's father is one of the figures that probably is like, popular, at least in the rhetoric of this. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you think you think that there is like new revolution spawning in Dorne?
I don't necessarily think that it's happening guaranteed, but I think it's always the possibility, right?
Ooh, very cool.
So I'll give you a quote here for us talking about this. Martell gave a shrug. In Dorne of old, before we married Daron, I believe it's Daron. I think the fucking typing in the book said Dacron, but anyhow, it was said that all flowers bow before the sun. Should the rose seek to hinder me, I'll gladly trample them underfoot. So I mean, like the Martells themselves, pretty proud. Like the Dornish are pretty proud. The Martells are pretty proud. They got this whole problem with all this sort of stuff.
And there's
And
the word bow in there too.
yeah, and traditionally the way the Targaryens have tried to get around this is, rather than warring with them, is to try to marry in and unify them. And so that's like that's kind of where I'm pushing directions at.
We married Daeron. Said that all flowers bowed to the sun. The rose should hinder me. I'll not hesitate to trample them, something like that.
If the rose should hinder me, I'll not hesitate to trample it underfoot, as I believe.
Not hesitate to.
Or say, yeah, should the roses seek to hinder me, I'll gladly trample them underfoot. There we go.
Gladly. Perfect. Okay. This is Oberyn to Tyrion again.
Yep.
Very cool. I had something that I wanted to bring up a little while ago. I don't think that it's relevant, but I do want to talk about it.
Okay.
There is just in terms of rhetoric, there's an interesting parallel between the Dornish and the Wildlings, which I think is very neat. Like the Dornish use the word bowed, and the Wildlings use the word knelt, but those are identical concepts.
Yeah, submission.
Yeah,
they don't like submission.
Yeah, I think that is an interesting parallel that we could dive into a little bit more some other time, but I did want to bring it up so it was not just in my brain.
I think it's relevant here because, but only because we've been talking about the Targaryen marriages. The Dornish don't really want to accept submission. They might accept unification through marriage and equality, like how Nymeria married into the house Martell, but they were on equal terms. But the Dornish are not really going to accept being, integrated by force. So. Okay. I think that's kind of relevant to maybe the theory that I have going on here.
Okay, I'd like to whole shot the theory, please.
Go for it.
You are suggesting that there is going to be a marriage alliance between Daenerys and Trystane. And it is going to be one of equality.
No.
That they are going to be on equal footing.
No.
Well, I mean, I think the popular theory with Dorne in the next little bit is that Dorne is going to 100% back young Griff in his attempt to take the throne, and that they are going to converge onto that point. I think a more interesting thing would be if there was a conflict within Dorne over who to back, and we got and Ariel Hotel's quote here seems to point to that that Dorne doesn't have as much control over his lords as he'd think. And there could be something of a Dornish civil war over whether to support Aegon or Dany. Would be more interesting and more George-like.
Is that this theory? Is the title of this theory the Dornish Civil War?
No. But I will give Zach a ding for being in interesting and close territory here. I had this quote said, Griff had heard enough of the Captain General's cowardice. We will not be alone. Dorne will join us. Must join us. Prince Aegon is Ilya's son, as well as Rhaegar's. So they lean pretty heavy on the fact that the Targaryens and the Martells share a bit of blood, and that's not an old concept. That concept maybe has been around for a minute or two.
What do you mean?
And so, maybe, what I'm saying is that the Targaryens have often tried to solve their problems with Dorne by marrying closer.
Interesting. I'm going to be honest. I'm not entirely sure where we're going.
Same here.
So I think I'd like to ask for a card.
Okay. I will deal you a card. Let me see here.
Give us one of the ones that you think would get us back on the right track.
Okay. Well, hopefully this won't end the game, but I'll give you this quote because it's said. I believe this is in Fire and Blood or the World Book. There's a pretty salacious thing said of King Aerys, right?
Sure.
It's said that as Queen Rhaella embraced the babe, this being Rhaegar's daughter, I believe, warmly, but King Aerys refused to touch the child or hold the child and complained that she smells Dornish.
What? 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 Aerys refused to touch. Was that Daenerys?
No, Rhaegar's child, I believe. Rhaella. Rhaella, Rhaena? Who's the child that owns the black cat?
Rhaena. That's the.
Yeah.
She's the one who's in Old Town.
Yeah, I believe that's what's going on here. Is who's talked about. The Mad King's wife embraces the baby, but the Mad King allegedly talks shit and says some racist stuff.
She smelled Dornish.
Dornish. Yeah, this is put down by a maester that I believe the maester is writing like Fire and Blood or
Dude,
might be the World Book. I can't remember which one it is.
that's wild.
That is wild.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna whole shot this.
All right, go for it.
Is the theory that Dany is actually the child of God, I'm forgetting the name of the queen, but the Mad King's wife and the Prince of Dorne, who was on the King's Guard at the time, and they had a secret
What?
relationship.
You're telling me you're pitching that Daenerys is the child of Rhaella and Lewin Martell.
Yes.
That's interesting, but that is not the theory, unfortunately. I'm just saying, take into account all the things
that was so good. It was so good. You gotta yes and that a little bit. You gotta give him a look. That's so stupid.
Take into account all of the things we've heard about Dorne, and then apparently, according to the people who are writing the books afterwards, the king is allegedly really spurring Dorne. You know,
he has the ability to smell Dornishness on someone.
Yeah. But at the same time, he's apparently naming his own daughter after a woman who was sent to Dorne to solidify marriage, which would be a double marriage alliance to Dorne, which would be what would happen if he married both his son and daughter to Dorne.
Is the theory that he was trying to intermarry with Dorne as much as possible, with the Martells as much as possible? Like he was trying to gain leverage over them?
Yeah, that's part of it, but I would say there's kind of a why reasoning that I would say that if you can guess the why reasoning,
is this like a gross, creepy genetics thing where he
no, it's not gross, creepy genetics thing, but
he was just really racist against Dornish people.
But why would he be
Kate.
trying to marry a whole bunch into Dorne as opposed to someone else?
Because Dorne is unconquerable and prone to rebellion, so they're the one that you are least likely to be able to put down in a military conflict.
Yes, and yeah, I would say yes that, and then I would say on top of that we already know that he was kind of being grubbed at by the Lannisters for more or less like the exact same thing. So I think that Mad King Aerys was actually trying to create alliances in Dorne to save himself from inevitable internal turmoil, and he was trying to meld all that stuff together and do what had not been done wholly previously. And that might even be why Dorne is so receptive to the Targaryens today, because he might have been involved in planning that way back in the day. Is more or less the whole theory.
You think that Aerys was trying to foster this relationship as much as he possibly could, but then why would he make that comment?
He was trying to solidify the kingdom with a Dorne Targaryen alliance, basically, and that's how he was going to maintain his power base and hold the kingdom together.
But then why would he make that comment though?
I don't think that he necessarily did. I think that was written down afterwards.
Oh,
it makes a lot of, but they think like Lewin Martell goes off and dies to protect the king and stuff, right? Like, why didn't Lewin Martell turn on him or something? You know, so I just think it's interesting that to speculate that maybe that the history is written in a way that makes things a little bit more sympathetic for Robert. You know, King was bad, and that's why the Dornish people got killed, and that's why it's okay that Robert killed people and stuff. You know,
You're right. You're right. And Fire and Blood has that thing at the beginning where it says, "I write this for the like elegant and illustrious King Robert."
And the Baratheons have to give Dorne like some kind of reason too to you know to not feel super spurned. And so I think that if they're driving home this point that actually the Targaryens don't like you that much, you know, that's the official history.
And that might contribute to why Tywin gave the orders to have Elya's kids killed.
Yeah, is because he's trying to separate that power away from the throne because he's trying to do the exact same thing. You know, he wants to roll up on the dynasty and make it a yes and dynasty, a Targaryen Lannister dynasty. You know, like I had another quote that was about it says no one speaks of it, but yes, ravens flew and riders rode, but secret messages I never knew. Jon Arryn sailed to Sunspear to return Prince Lewin's bones and sat down with Prince Doran. It ended all talk of war, but Robert never went to Dorne thereafter, and Prince Oberyn seldom left it. So things are icy, and there arguably was like, you know, a plot to rebel and fight against Robert. And so I think that's just more kind of solidifying the idea that actually the Targaryens and Dornish have been trying to do this courtship thing for a long time, and maybe it's never worked out 100%, where they just fully just go, all right, we're just one shared dynasty. But I think that maybe King Aerys might have been trying to head that way, and that might have even been why a lot of people are so not hot on King Aerys. You know, the same thing happened back in the day with the accusation of like bringing the Dornish people to court. Remember?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, you know, if King Aerys was actually a lot more pro-Dorne than he's painted, then it would maybe explain him trying to repeat the double marriage thing with Rhaegar and then Daenerys, and making a big political show of it, and everyone being like, ew, gross, good Dornish people in court, I don't like it. You know, so it's so who knows? My theory was that maybe we've gotten the wrong interpretation from that one line put down by the Maester, and actually he was kind of a bit more of a Targaryen traditionalist in that regard, in terms of like, no, we're gonna unify Dorne into the kingdom by marriages because the wars don't work out, you know.
All right, this is one of my favorite things about this series. I love Fire and Blood and The World of Ice and Fire. They The World of Ice and Fire flip flops between my favorite and second favorite book in the series. Because I adore the idea of a political and governmental history written by people in universe with their own biases and agendas. I love the idea that the Maesters altered the history intentionally. Okay, so let's dissect this. Who would know? Who would have this information right now? Barristan? Maybe.
Probably nobody. I think it's totally irrelevant information. I think it would just be one of those like lost to history things, and then like 1,000 years later, someone would be like, "Hey, did you notice that he was actually kind of pro Dorne, even though that one guy says that one time that he hated Dorne?" And then historians would bicker about it forever, and they'd college their names on YouTube. Like that's what.
Well, like literally, who would? Like, I'm not saying it would be revealed if true, but who literally would have this information?
I see a lot of people who are dead is the problem.
Yeah.
Barristan. Maybe Barristan was there, and he would be like, "That wasn't actually what he said. He said something nice about the baby. He didn't say anything at all."
Yeah. I would think that Prince Lewin would have that information, and it is entirely plausible that he would have communicated with his brothers, right? So Doran might have that information.
Yeah, it could be true, you know.
And Arthur Dane, currently living north of the Wall,
definitely has that information.
He might have that information.
And that would explain a little bit more why people like Arthur Dane were willing to die for King Aerys and his son, because, you know, King Aerys was actually kind of pro-Dorne, and Arthur Dane comes from Dorne, you know, and so just all around, Dorne was like, yeah, we're good with this guy. We like him. It's cool.
You know, wait, this is actually, I think maybe we should have like gone through the players in this story a little bit more, there's a lot of there's a lot of Dornish people at court. There is Elia, but there is also Lewin and Arthur. Is there anyone else? Anyone I'm not thinking of?
Probably. I don't really know the Court of Aerys that much, to be honest.
Neither do I. That could be an interesting exercise for the viewer. Unironically, in the comments, please tell us the direct connections between Aerys the Second's court and Dorne, because I think this is a really interesting idea, and I think that there could be something to dig up here.
Yeah. Who knows? I could be proven totally wrong. It was just that when Davos said that, he was like, "Oh, she's named for the Daenerys that got married in Dorne." I was like, "Why would you name your daughter after Daenerys who went to Dorne if you're a big old Dorne hater?" And then I was like, "Well, if he was not a big Dorne hater, then he'd be doing a double marriage to Dorne, which would make perfect sense naming Daenerys because it's like you're telegraphing. You're being like, hey, Dorne, we're gonna do a marriage in the future, way out in the future. Just get them sons ready. We're doing a marriage. We've got Daenerys here.
Get them sons ready.
You know, like
you stay away from those kids, my Valentine.
Yeah, it really telegraphs, and that's why, of course, you know, of course, he's so rude to the Lannisters in terms of like, you think you're gonna get married? Fuck y'all! I'm marrying the door. That's the dragon's thing. We've been doing it for decades, bro.
Yo,
like, get up
wait, that's really good. That's really good. That would explain why he so enthusiastically rejected Tywin's offer, because all of his kids were already spoken for.
Yeah. That's not his style. That's not Targaryen style. We don't need to be married into the kingdom. We're trying to marry the Dorne. We're trying to, like, you know.
And that makes sense because so many of the Dornish connections would have been lost by then. So, like, the idea that they might rebel someday is like pretty plausible.
There's reason on both sides. There's the Targaryens don't want a Dornish breakaway, right? Because they have no more dragons. So like they got to hold on the North somehow.
They have to fight a bloody and brutal war if they want to get it.
And then
they might lose.
The Martells don't want usurpation or Dornish civil war, so why not, you know, integrate into the kingdom as the rulership and you know, start gaining like not only direct access to all the crown and crown resources and direct control over the whole kingdom, but also get a ton of, you know, brownie point legitimacy in the eyes of your people who are like, yeah, that's right. You have to be equals to Dorne. You are not gonna. This ain't a Targaryen dynasty. This is a Targaryen Dornish dynasty. You know, like
this is Dornisty.
Yeah. It's much more powerful in the eyes of your people if they're like, no, we don't accept that. We want to be treated as though we are, you know, on par with the ruling house and the ruling bloodline, because we Dornish people have a lot of pride. And that's big in Dorne. It's like the people are like willing to overthrow the crown or like the crown of Dorne if the crown of Dorne doesn't assert itself. Like that's a pretty big expectation where the people are like, we'll support you, but you have to be really proactive in making sure that everybody knows that we're top dog, and then the crown can say yay or nay, and if the crown says nay, they can overthrow the crown. Like that's an interesting little a setup there, you know. So it behooves everybody involved to you know, to do those marriage pacts and to be really pro Dorne, you know.
Zach, that makes a ton of sense. Sorry to interrupt you, Tom. Like
no, you're not, you liar! How dare you?
That's true. They are looking to. They can't on their own exert power over the entire continent, but they can marry their way into it, and there's a strong incentive for the Targaryens to let that happen until they become basically one dynasty. And if you look at what Doran's plans are now, it's like he's just kicked the can down the road, right? Okay, well, we'll have the Targaryens come back, they will owe us a ton, and we will get every single marriage alliance we possibly can. Well, you know, there's a popular theory that Arianne will marry young Griff, Aegon, and there was the supposed marriage contract that Quentin tries to show up, like rock up and honor with Daenerys. Yeah. If they're planning for a Targaryen reconquest, they can get to the point where they're the second most powerful house after House Targaryen, a house which will have 2 living members, meaning that they will actually be the most powerful house. It's almost what the Hightowers did during the dance.
The end goal of all this, more or less, for the Dornish would be to make sure that just by pure, you know, mashing of the bloodlines together, that whoever was sitting the Iron Throne was just not so coincidentally also the Prince of Dorne.
Yeah. I mean, that's
That way they maintain all of that legitimacy, and then it's like the Prince of Dorne and Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, or vice versa, you know what I mean? But Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and Prince of Dorne, that's kind of like they're not going to accept it. And I think Doran like directly says some of this stuff sometimes, or at least hints at it, that they're not going to accept like being a second-rate house. It's like you have to hyphen with us or it's no deal.
Well, they also believe in like succession through the female line as well is legitimate. So what they could do then is they could like use that to have a member of their family, like they have twice as many options when there is a succession crisis. They can say through Dornish law, we have all these people who can inherit. Because that's what would happen often when a like family would die out in medieval Europe. I'm thinking like the Habsburgs when they died out, they went to the nearest female line that they could get, which was the Lorraines. So it went from the Habsburgs to the Habsburg Lorraines afterwards. That could totally, like, because they have legitimized female succession so much. If there's ever another great council after they've intermarried with the Targaryens a ton, a dynasty, and even like in the time of the Mad King, it was not a super healthy dynasty. You had the Mad King, his sister wife, and their three kids, and that was it.
There, the Mad King's dynasty not being a super healthy dynasty, like it's not just not super healthy in terms of like we're not having a lot of people in our dynasty anymore. It's not super healthy like everybody in the Seven Kingdoms is waiting for you to slip because you don't have dragons anymore. You no longer have dragons, so you need something else. You need some other way of making sure everybody always keeps in line. And that way, it like kind of sort of comes down to super powerful strategic marriage alliances,
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to keep Seven Kingdoms together, it's like it makes sense to be pursuing this path, arguably, and then to use that unification of the Dornish and Targaryen blood to then now you can pick and choose other houses to marry into and solidify your dynasty that way,
You have the one hard to conquer area with the tough army is basically merged into your dynasty, and then for Dorne, like a place that you can't go and conquer by those means of warfare, you can control by other means, by essentially being a hyphenated dynasty. That's brilliant. I can't believe I never thought of that. That is entirely what they were going for.
There's lots of drawbacks to unifying with Dorne because Dorne's weaker than it appears, but the Dornish don't put that up in the front. They kind of hide that. But also they're like a major wedge against the Stormlands and the Reach, which are like a major threat to the crown in theory. The Reach fields a lot of people, right? And so I think there is some strategic reason to it. Maybe it's not the best, but it's something the Targaryens have been trying to do for a long time. And they seem pretty intent on doing it. So I'm like, it kind of makes a little more sense that they're trying to pursue this way that they've been, doing politics for a while. They're just continuing that, But yeah, that's the weird theory. The weird theory. Aerys actually big Dorne lover. He loves Dorne. He likes Dorne. He's into Dorne. He's into marrying into Dorne. That's what he's.
This also paints the Mad King as better at long-term strategy than we give him credit for.
I think,
or the very least, easily coerced into a good long-term strategy for Doran Martell. Like Doran Martell was able to trick the fuck out of this guy.
Yeah, Mad King's definitely insane, but maybe sometimes he's listening to good politics or whatever. Maybe sometimes he's
he's an insane person with good advisors.
I think he might just be trying to do Targaryen history sometimes, where he's just like, "This is what Targaryen kings do. I'm crazy." And then
he's copying good ideas.
He has several hundred people executed, but then he makes a move from a book that he read one time. Like, who knows,
That's the plot of Glass Onion.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Zach, I just don't understand why you didn't listen to me when I said, don't do the good dad corner. I just don't know why you didn't listen to me, because you put Hank Hill right in the spot where Charlie Swan goes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. There has to be more people in the good dad corner, Zach.
It would be very nice of Hank to make room for Charlie Swan. That would be something Hank would do.
Yes,
but it'd be like a musical stick.
But he won't. He won't move. I'm gonna put him right there. That's right, everybody. We have a Twilight video coming up. And it is a nightmare.
Twilight the movie or Twilight the book?
I watched all the Twilight movies.
Oh.
And
I was told not to do that, even though I easily could have.
And we're not.
I was told to say nothing.
I have to explain them to you, Zach. You know this.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, I think that's probably our show.
That's our show. Anything else, Ian? You want to say? Want to plug anything?
I would just say stick to weird '90s stuff, Tom. You don't need to watch Twilight. It's okay to not.
Unfortunately, it's too late. It's too late for him to not watch Twilight. He watched all of it.
I watched all of them. I have opinions on all of them.
It's too late. Well.
Oh my God! Do you want me to tease my opinions on Twilight?
Sure. Okay. Hit us with your Twilight hot takes.
Ian, I will allow you to ask me exactly one question about Twilight here on this video.
Well, you won't give us your top 10?
No.
All right. Okay.
Exactly one question. Make sure it's phrased correctly.
Hottest hot take, then, please. Your hottest hot take. Make it spicy.
My hottest hot take is definitely that the 5th movie is the best. For sure. By a lot, actually.
It's not surprising. It's not surprising for you specifically that the movie where things happen, even if those things are fucking ridiculous and dumb, is better than the 4 movies where nothing happens.
Hey,
that is the most on-brand take for you, and you're also right.
Hey, a little bit of stuff happens in the first one, and some amount of stuff happens in the 3rd one.
2 and 4 are completely shot.
Well, 2 is completely shot, and 4 exactly 2 things happen.
I thought there was only 3, so I thought it's already exceeded my expectations that there is 5.
There's 5 movies. None of them is good, but the 5th one is the best.
There are 5 movies and 4 books, and the 4th book, from my estimation, was made so that there could never be a 5th book. She was done with that shit.
Oh God!
See, now you gotta read Twilight and then do a book to movie comparison that takes 12 hours.
No, thank you.
That on the interesting.
The time we get to a literary analysis is the point where we probably can't make 45% of the video be dick jokes, and we never want to hit that point.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it. The best I can do, the closest we're gonna get to literary analysis is the Good Dad Corner.
Okay.
We're going to talk about problematic stuff in the second movie in terms of Stephenie Meyer, famous white person making up her own tribe of people with no personality or background. I think that's the closest we're going to get to a serious discussion.
Is it made up? Hang on, let me confirm that. You're allowed to make me feel like you're allowed to blame me if it is made up. And absolutely no one filled that space.
No,
I didn't know what was going on here. I was like, "Are you looking to check if Twilight is being made up?" I was like, "I'm pretty sure it's a made up story."
The tribe is not fictional, but it is every aspect of it is. She just took the name.
That is the worst possible option.
Sure is.
That is actually terrible.
Yeah.
Ooh. And I want to say to all of our French subscribers, Guten Tag, which means goodbye.
All right, that's our show, everybody. I'm probably going to cut out that middle bit. I hope everyone has a great time. Ian, thank you for joining us. Go subscribe to Man of Many Cats. You can check out our Patreon if you want to. It'll get your name in the background. It lets us do more shit like this. Zach, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Ian, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Zach, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Ian, say goodbye.
Guten Tag or whatever he said.
Zach, say goodbye.
Guten Tag, my French viewers.
Ian, say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Zach, say goodbye.
Guten Tag, my fromies. That's French homies.
Ian, say goodbye.
How many times are we gonna say goodbye? This is a long bit, Tom.
Zach, say goodbye.
Aloha.
Ian, say goodbye.
That's also French.
I'll never say goodbye again, ever in my life.
The problem is I intended to do this.
My favorite James Bond movie.
I intended to do this until it stopped being funny, but it kept getting funnier. I'm ending the recording.